And we continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Berurah. We're in the middle of learning Siman Kuf Dalid. And we are up to Sif Hey. Yes, we fell a little bit behind, but b'siyata d'shmaya, we will quickly catch up. Says the Mechaber in Sif Hey. B'chol makom shepasak. 1 second, let's get the highlighting up and running. There we go. B'chol makom shepasak. Halacha that we've referenced so many times. And finally now we get to see the Makar inside. Says the Mechaber, anytime one interrupts his tefillah, Im Shah, if he waits Ligmar his cool amount of time to finish the entire tefillah, then Chayzer, apologies that we're coloring a little bit out of the lines today, Chayzer l'roish, he has to go back to the beginning of the tefillah, and continues the Mechaber in Sifei Vimlaf. And if he does not wait long enough to finish the entire tefillah, then where do you go back to? Go back to the beginning of the bracha. Shapasik, but you stopped. Then if you made an interruption, the first three brachas from an Esrei, you have to go back to the beginning. And if it's at the end, so comments the Mishnah Berurah over here. What exactly does it mean? Sifkatan Yud Gimel. What exactly we're referencing Imsha? If you pause, says the Mishnah Berurah, Filu rak shtika ba'alma. Beli dibur. You didn't talk. All you did was you waited and you paused for that amount of time. Filu rak being bracha lebracha. Depends on how long the break was. If it was amount of time to finish as kula sifkatan yadalid, filu oimid b'seiva tefillah. If you're at the end of the tefillah, Misharim mitchilas ha'tfilah atzeifa. Again, we've referenced this halacha so many times. How do we calculate? Even if you're up to, I don't know, sim shalom, and one has to take a break for whatever its reason, like we saw in the previous sifin, there's a snake and whatnot, you have the amount of time it would tell you to daven the entire Shemaina Esrei. Chayzer sifkat vavim lav chayzer roish. And if it's been too long, go to the beginning. Excuse me, vim loy chayzer roish. Let's say you didn't go back to the beginning. Rather, you went back to the place that you stopped. If it was a case that you needed to go back to the beginning, quotes the Pri Chadash, and then you'd have to still afterwards go back to the beginning. List him. Okay, God, just call the case that we mentioned in the previous sifin. B'diavad, you are yoitze. Why? Because maybe this is not called an Aines, and therefore B'diavad one would be yoitze. That which we are noyik, like the Ramah and Siman Samachay, and we continue the Mishnah Berurah over here, that he teaches us that which we're noyik, like the Ramah Gabe Kriyishma. With regard to Kriyishma, Kedas HaPois, Kim Deino Chayz L'Rosh, you don't go back to the beginning, Kiyim Be'ashiyah Machmasainis, unless who's doing a Naines, who Adin Betfila Nami Adin Kain. Yesh Aimim Dinyaninu Darina Gabe Akra Vayshar Shabag in Egdai, like we learned in Sif Gimel and Dalid. If there's a snake or there's an ox that comes opposite you, Shapasik Machmas Listin Gamna, Mikri Nami Afsik Machazainis, the Beis Azelo Yuchalis Balel. So you can't have no Mikri Afsik Vachaz the Rosh Days have Yesham and some argue. Zelo Mikri Ainis Kim Shash Afsik Machmas Shuba Atzma Rayu Litfila. So we're getting to learn the fundamental. What is Afsik? Is it stam that you broke, that you waited, or is it that you were unable, you were in a situation that you were not able to daven Shamakim in a row, the place was not fitting for you to daven in. Mashenkin man is acher. Vechriya Magen Avram, what's the obstacle? Ma'is avoid arbi acharon to betfila oines acher nami mikri oines. It's also called an unavoidable mishap. Why? Me'acher deish me'er shenish tevim to tefila imshaligmar as kula. Afilu bli oines klal chayzer roish. Some say, anyways, you have to go back. Unless you or the place was not fit for tefillah at that moment. We continue with the Mishnah Berurah Sivkatan Yudzayin that if not Rotzalaimer. You didn't wait so long. Avol Mikol Makum Shar, but you waited a long amount of time. But not the amount of time to finish the entire Shon Esrei Dilo Shah, Rakid Ligmar Isa Brach Likuli Alma. In a Chayz Rakid Makam Bilvat. Then what do? You have to go back to the beginning of Shonesi Sivkati Nirchas Chayzel Tchilas Asir Lei Techamir Tfilin Yezem Mikriyish Ma'at Shmonesi is more Chamer Ulafik Achbi Kriyish Ma'bercha is Sagi which has think Shachzel Makim Shapas like you just go back to the place. This is a Chazar. We learned this when we learned Hilchas Kriyish Ma to go back to the place that you made the Hafsik Avol Bekan Bina Tchilas Abracha Gini Labracha Deishi Rabba Niskalkel Abracha V'Dav Kemshi Aisa B'Amsa Abracha Avlin Bracha Labracha B'Diavad less one, but it's not a problem. Kol shagling merkul unless you're not wait long enough to finish the whole thing. Ayin bebir halacha. Ayin bir halacha. Continues the Mishnah Berurah. Sifkatan yotas again. Sifkatan yotas is going on the mechaber. And the mechaber taught us a unique halacha that if you didn't take a long enough break, then you go back to the beginning of the bracha. If it's the first three brachas or the last from Ritzayin on, you have to go back to the beginning of those few brachas. So says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkati Nitas HaBracha, Ayin B'chai Adam, Shekasaf, Tibid Di'avidim L'chazat Tchilas HaBracha. Let's say you didn't know this halacha. So you were mafsik in the middle and you just continued. Kivish Ishlam HaBracha, Einoi Rashi Lachzu, do not go back. Magid Gibrei Cholik V'Gamriel, Dina Shulchan Aruch, Magid Gibrei argues V'Kasav, to make Radenim Lo Shalik Meretz Kul Lo Chashav Hafsik Ve'einoi Chayzer Rak L'Makum Shabasik. So number one, the Chai Adam says B'diavad, if you didn't go back to the beginning of the bracha, you're Yitzay. Number two, the Magin Gibayim says you should not go back to the beginning of the bracha if you did not break long enough to finish the entire thing. If you took a break to finish the whole thing, so now we have a third reason not to go back to the beginning of the bracha, is that the Goyin goes with the Rashba, then you go back to the place that you're a Pasak. So this is, I guess we'll coin it an interesting Mishnah Berurah, because the Mechaber here is clearly paskening to go back to the beginning of the bracha. And the Mishnah Berurah is not paskening not that way. Ayin and the Chai Adam. Kosav, the Magid Ibrahim argues, says the guy not the way. He quotes three opinions not to do like the Mechaber, and he leaves it that way, open-ended. Begimel Rishaynes continues the Mishnah Berurah that during the first three brachas, that's one matbeya, that's one bracha entirety. They're all called, consider one bracha. Like therefore, even if you didn't break Chazal Reshat Tefillah, if you mashik a safti. By the way, parenthetically, this is being recorded right after Rosh Chodesh, a bit late. This is one of the reasons that when someone, let's say, misses Yal V'Yavai, but remembers at the end of Shemona Esrei, before he finishes, he goes back to Ritzei, because that entire end of it is all considered one bracha. The guy in the Magid Ibrahim, again, like we just learned, would say to go back to a place that you stopped. So only when you finish the bracha, as we've seen. Before we go into Siv Vav, just to point out important dirshus over here. Dirshu note 26 says, Dirshu note 26. Let's say you take a few small breaks. So we saw in Siman Samachay, She'ena Shiyas Mitzarafais, the breaks do not combine to each other. Only if you have a long break do you have to go back to the beginning of the Tefillah. Let's see at the end of the davening, like it Kamach, it says the name of the Tyrus of Shulchan, Adam Varich Sami Yisrael B'Shalom, but Elakain Nitzar is not included. Ubiyam Shabasiva Piyutim B'Chazar says Shat, says the Shari Shurim Shem L'Shasim Azman B'Liya Piyutim, which I guess would be Nageya on like Rosh Hashanah and whatnot. You want to try to figure out if there's Shleich Sibra how to take a break, you would not include the Piyutim in that break. And we finish up today with Siv Vav. Says the Mechaber, Ha Damrinim Shakid Ligmar Eskula Ba'Kairi. Ba'kairei misharinon imsach b'tfilah. If you spoke, didn't have sakas hamurais bezin. That talking is the same thing as taking a break. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Ba'kairei Nakat Kaire. Why? Misham the din zen avim kriyish the sham gamkin dino achisim din kriyish mashkas lab sim samachis of baga. Imsach Sivkat Chav Gimel says the Mishnah Berurah Huadin. The same thing is it true in this gar ma'ira shel shar yom b'tfila kigayin shel Shabbos yantav v'chol uchay gavna. You said the wrong shon answer. Gamkin dinu kilu sachas as if you spoke. If you're like, come on, say sim kov ches b'shvurah and sham, and again, so you're only going to have to continue. You're not going to have to go back unless you broke long enough to finish the entire tefillah. Sivkat Chav Daled about tefillah. V'imsach by kriyish aber chaysel ayin dal b'sim samachaysev aleph b'mishnah berurah. And we continue with Sif Katan Samachay. Says the Mishnah Berurah Kedin Avsak. What does that mean? Kedin Avsak is dim sach b'em sabracha sicha mu'ates. If you spoke a little bit of Yilum Loishal, even if you did not break long enough to finish the whole bracha, Chayzer Shabracha, like we saw in the Machaber, that if you took a small break, where do you have to go back to? That bracha itself. Of course, the guy in the Magibarim and the Chayadam argued. If you spoke long enough to finish the whole davening, then go back to Ginei Shon Esil. If you mashab arna lehelps if kana dezayin lo yedin zerak b'shesach al yedei aynes. This halacha is only if you spoke due to an aynes. Kigayin al the anos listed now the case that we saw previously that you spoke avalim sach shalai b'aynes. Why would you speak? You made a mistake. You thought for some reason you're allowed to talk about Shemana Esrei. You don't go back to the beginning, go back to the beginning of the bracha. It's awesome. There's no way to fix it. So it's a bit ironic, maybe even counterintuitive, that you did a bigger aveira, you made a bigger mistake. There's less of a fix. Why is there less of a fix? Because you can't fix it. You messed it up, you just continue weiter. You finish your davening. If you did it on purpose, says the Mishnah Berurah, Sarich Ian Gadol Bezin Zeh. He doesn't know what to do. Yay! Take a look at this. Go right back to the beginning. Amazing that there's no way to fix it, and therefore you do not go back. And we will pick it up with Sif Zayin and Ches in the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.